Welcome back to Matcha Mondays with Michelle. Today we're talking about some matcha mistakes, myths, and misconceptions. These are some helpful things to know about matcha that I wish I knew before I started drinking it. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Michelle and I love sharing my life experiences, my learnings, and I love matcha. So if you also love matcha, you're in the right place. Today I'm drinking a black sesame matcha latte. I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a professional. I'm not an expert. I have never actually practiced the tea ceremony or chado, sado, chanoyu. I am simply just another matcha enthusiast. Like you. I have been drinking matcha every day now for 5 years, and I do a lot of my own research, so this is all just based off of my own research and my own personal experiences. So please keep that in mind as we go through this video. There's a lot of discourse and chatter nowadays on social media, on matcha talk, matcha TikTok, on Instagram, Reddit, things like that. So these are some things that are top of mind for me right now. And the first thing that I want to talk about is ceremonial grade or culinary grade. You hear these terms all the time when it comes to choosing what matcha to buy. You see these in product descriptions. Ceremonial grade has come to be synonymous with high quality. Culinary grade has come to be synonymous with low quality. But this is not always the case. These terms are just marketing terms created in the West so that Western companies can try to sell more matcha. These terms are not used in Japan. They're not used traditionally in the tea ceremony. Traditionally, you would just grade matcha as usucha grade or koicha grade. Usucha is thin tea. This is how it's most commonly drank in Japan. And this is also served during a more casual time of the tea ceremony. And koicha is thick tea. And this is not so commonly drank as an everyday drink in Japan. It's usually only in like tea ceremonies during the beginning, like more formal time. Again, this is all just based off of my own research. I don't have any formal education on tea ceremony practice. But yeah, if you like ask a matcha farmer producer in Japan, they might look at you funny if you ask them about ceremonial grade versus culinary grade. Like, they might not know what you're talking about. Ceremonial grade, culinary grade, these terms are not regulated, especially ceremonial grade. Anybody can slap this label on their product to try to give the impression that it is higher quality, that it's suitable for tea ceremonies, but really it doesn't mean anything. Because speaking from experience, I've definitely tried some matchas that were labeled ceremonial grade, but they were definitely not high quality. But on the other hand, I have also tried matcha that was marked as culinary grade, and that one was, I would say, higher quality than the ceremonial grade one. So it's really just a label. It doesn't mean much. So if you are basing your purchases off of whether it says ceremonial grade or culinary grade, like you're only buying ceremonial grade and you're never buying culinary grade, then I would say that's a mistake. Another mistake I see a lot is judging the quality of a matcha powder based off of its color. A lot of people think that matcha has to be a deep, vibrant green color. I mean, I mention color kind of a lot in my videos as well because I do love a nice, deep, vibrant green color. It usually is an indicator of high quality matcha. But again, it's not always the case. Some very high quality matchas are actually not as green and vibrant. It might actually have a slightly yellowish tint. But if you taste it and you still enjoy the flavor of it, then I don't see the issue. The color of the matcha can vary from harvest to harvest, batch to batch. It can vary based on the growing conditions, like which region it was grown in, the soil. It can depend on the type of cultivar. It can depend on how it was shaded, how long it was shaded. So don't judge it based off of its color. I would say keep an open mind and just taste it. Because I think as long as you enjoy the taste of it, that's all that matters. However, if you notice a change in the color, like when you first opened it, it was a bright, vibrant green, but over time it's gotten to a dull yellow color, then it has probably oxidized. And that's just the natural process. The longer that you keep it open, the more it's exposed to air, humidity, sunlight, the quicker it'll oxidize. So in that case, yes, your matcha quality is definitely decreasing. But overall, I would just say don't be so quick to judge a matcha solely based off of the color. Speaking of oxidation and how to prevent oxidation, how to store your matcha, I've seen a lot of discussion on how to store your matcha. A lot of people like to store theirs in the refrigerator, and a lot of brands also recommend this. This is supposed to help keep your matcha fresher for longer longer. Air, humidity, high temperatures, light can oxidize your matcha. So a lot of people like to keep their matcha in the refrigerator to kind of reduce their matcha's exposure to these elements. You can even keep it in your freezer, especially for unopened matchas. Like if you're not planning to use your matcha for a long time, like a few months. One thing to note though is that I think you should bring the tin or bag of matcha to room temperature first before opening it and before using it. But to be honest, I don't like storing my matcha in the fridge or the freezer. So what I do is I just store it on my matcha station. It's away from sunlight, it's in a cool environment. I only open it when I'm scooping out my matcha and I screw the lid back on immediately. And I find that that works the best for me. I do usually finish my matcha in like 2 months though, which is recommended. I would say to try to use up your matcha like within about 2 months after opening it. After that, then I think you will definitely start to notice a decline in quality. And the reason I don't really like storing it in the refrigerator is because I feel like it loses its flavor. I don't know if it's just me and my fridge, or maybe it's the things that we have in our fridge, but I feel like when I tried storing it in my refrigerator, I don't know, the flavor just wasn't as strong as when I kept it outside of the refrigerator. A lot of people also like to use those little silica packets. They're little moisture absorbing packets to reduce humidity. I personally have never used them. Some brands include it in the matcha tin already. So if they do, then I'll usually just leave it. But yeah, so I don't think there's any mistake here. I really think it just comes down to what you prefer. Maybe you guys can share in the comments your preferred way of storing your matcha and maybe any other tips that you have for others watching. Next up, I've seen a lot of people talk about how you should not use metal for your matcha. And I've even gotten a lot of comments because I have this stainless steel chashaku. I always use this to scoop my matcha from the tin into my chawan. And people are like, don't use metal with matcha. I think people say it oxidizes your matcha faster, but I actually have not noticed any difference using this one versus a bamboo chashaku. I also don't think there's any scientific evidence to show that it does make a difference. I even think I read somewhere that the original chashakus were made out of like brass or copper or something. And when I get matcha and it comes in a tin, usually it comes in a little bag, but I'll usually take the matcha powder and empty it from the bag into the tin. So I'll store it in the tin, and I believe the tin is made out of like aluminum or something. And I've had a matcha powder maintain its quality for a year now. I was honestly so surprised because I actually forgot that I had that matcha powder because I misplaced it. I didn't keep it with the rest of my matcha powders, so I found it recently, but I opened it like a year ago. But I was so surprised that the color and the taste, yes, I tasted it. They were both still so good. And it's been in that metal tin this entire time. And I mean, I don't recommend doing that. I don't think you should let your matcha sit for a year. I also use a metal sieve, like a sifter, to sift the clumps out of my matcha every time. Matcha sifter weights are also very popular nowadays, but I'm just sharing just to show that I don't think metal has any effect on matcha, or at least not a significant enough effect for you to stress about it. I feel like it's more of a myth or a misconception. But this next thing that I do think you might want to be a little bit more cautious of, especially if you have an iron deficiency, and it's that matcha can block the absorption of iron. So let's say you're eating breakfast and you're eating a lot of iron-rich foods, but you also drink your matcha at the same time, then your matcha can actually block the absorption of the iron. I personally haven't had any problems with this, but I'm not iron deficient. But if you are, then this is probably something that you want to pay more attention to. So what's recommended instead is to wait 2 hours after your meal and then have your matcha. That way your body has time to absorb the nutrients, and then you can enjoy your matcha without as many worries. I also wouldn't drink matcha on an empty stomach, like first thing in the morning. Definitely eat a meal before you have your matcha. This goes for any caffeinated drink, honestly. Drinking caffeine on an empty stomach or even drinking too much caffeine is just not a good idea. A lot of people like matcha because it has less caffeine than coffee. And yes, that is true, but the amount of caffeine in matcha definitely adds up, especially if you use like 4, 5, 6 grams of matcha. My limit is 4 grams. I never go above 4 grams. And even then, that's only on very rare occasions, on days where I'm like super extremely tired. Usually my limit is 3 grams. That is my golden ratio. That's only for lattes though. If I have an usucha, I'll use even less. I'll only use 2 grams. So yeah, just be mindful of overconsumption of caffeine as well as the timing of when you drink your matcha, especially if you have an iron deficiency. And this next one, I don't think is really a mistake, but I do think it's something that you should avoid, and it is easily avoidable, and that is whisking on your scale. So I know not everyone uses a scale, but if you do use a scale, which I do, but one thing that I learned that you shouldn't do is whisk on top of it. Because if you whisk on top of it and you apply all that pressure on top of your scale, it can eventually mess up the reading. It can mess up the accuracy, and you don't want that. You want your scale to last as long as possible. So just to help it last longer, make sure to move your scale to the side, not on top of your scale. Don't worry, I used to do that before. In my recent short, actually, Kyle was whisking on my scale, but it's okay. I don't usually talk about it in my videos, but it is just good to know. So try not to whisk on your scale. So I hope that helped. If you guys have any thoughts about the things that I mentioned, please leave them in the comments. Like I said, this is all based off of my own experience, my own research. I'm not a professional or an expert or anything. I'm just another girl on the internet who really enjoys matcha. And I want to help you guys have the best at-home matcha experience as well. So thank you so much for watching. Happy Matcha Monday, and I will see you next week. Bye!